Welcome to Mark Remeets World. I am your host, Mark Levy, and I am so unbelievably happy to be here with you today for episode 3 of Mark Remeets World of season 2. Also got that part, that's important to know. We're in season 2, episode 3. The episode's Notorious. The episode's called Notorious for Boy Meets World. If you don't know what Mark Meets World is, basically what it is every week I rewatch a episode Boy Meets World with a friend. This week's with my friend Job Galvez, and today we watched a pretty good episode of Boy Meets World, Notorious. Notoriously good. The episode's called Notorious. This joke is over, it's done. But if you haven't yet watched the episode, I highly recommend please watch the episode right now. Great. I will see you on the other side of this transition. Or is it going to be a Notorious transition? Whatever, it's a transition.
And we're back. All right, so we know what time it is. I got my friend Job Galvez with me. If you know him, you love him. You see him like the fourth time now on the show, I think. That sounds right. Third? You're right, third, yeah. First time in season 2, where we are now at basically all iconic episodes right now. So today we're doing season 2, episode 3, Notorious, which is a very accurate title, but I always forget the title of this episode just because of the way the episode is. It aired on October 7th, 1994, directed by David Trainer, written by Jeffrey C. Sherman. The plot of the episode is Shawn pulls a big prank, and Eric dates a lot of girls.
A bunch of the long list of women.
Oh yeah, one of these is like one of my favorite forgettable characters in Boy Meets World actually, but we'll get there when we get there. And this is exciting because this is the first time this season where someone specifically requested an episode, and knowing John, I know exactly why he chose this episode. Because he loves words.
You think you know the reason I picked this? You think I know the reason I picked this episode, and we'll find out.
Oh no, I'm gonna say it when we get there. We're not there yet, of course.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be really weird if it's like, yes, I like the opening moments of the weird orgasmy massage sounds that you hear coming from the newspaper room.
Yeah, no, we'll see if we can figure out my favorite joke. This episode literally contains my favorite joke of one of my favorite jokes of the entire series. Let's see if you can figure out which one it is.
All right. I've narrowed it down to one, and we'll get there.
Let's go into it.
All right. So the episode starts. Shawn and Corey are walking in with the school rats named Shawn and Corey. That they named Shawn and Corey, and you hear an orgasmic massage sound, a very, very nice feeling good sound coming from the newspaper room, and oh, Eric is definitely in here. And they go in there, they see Eric and his girlfriend Molly. She's working on the newspaper because she's the editor of the school newspaper, and this is the beginning of, I think, dumber Eric, where he starts dating girls that are smarter than him.
Yes, and it just kind of downward slope from this point on.
Because he's not really dumb, he's just focused on guy things in this episode,
Well, I think before this episode, it was always about I will do anything for a girl, including acting dumb just to seem cute. And then all of a sudden it's turned into I'm actually really dumb and women find it adorable.
Right. So except for, well, I mean, in this episode, that's not the case. No. Yeah. So the girl he's massaging, her name is Molly. She's the editor of the school newspaper. There's a really funny joke, basically immediately, when with the whole French, our neighbors to the north.
Yep.
I thought it was pretty funny because it's not entirely fully correct, considering if you go straight north from Philadelphia, you're in Quebec.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of those people. I feel like he's almost one of those people who's he attained a certain level of knowledge, made a bunch of connections that don't really work, and then made that the truth. There are French people in the north, so therefore France must be north.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the logic of lobsters and turtles both have shells, so they must be related.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, he's not fully wrong, but he's not right either, considering French Canadians are Canadians.
Yeah. It's one of those things where if you think about it for a while, he's not 100% wrong.
Right. It's like the gonads joke that happened in the last episode involving Corey, like how it's like everyone's got gonads, really. Yeah.
And which brings us to an interesting point. Like, this is only season 2, and already we're into the burgeoning maturity, adulthood sex references that we really don't get revisited. Like, we're opening this thing with almost like a suggestive sexual thing.
I mean, the first thing you hear in the episode is like orgasmic moaning.
Exactly. And it's like, this is season 2. Season 1, it's all, oh, he's a young boy. Baseball, things like that. And now all of a sudden we're starting the episode with sex noises. Wow, that went fast.
I mean, last episode was definitely a transitional episode, if you want to think of it that way, because last episode was pairing off, which is when like everyone starts noticing the other gender, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. But yeah, so Eric and Molly have some cute little banter, and then they leave, and you see like the headline in the school newspaper says the new principal, like meet our new principal, Feeny.
Right.
And Corey realizes you can edit it, and he edits it to teeny, and then they start going beanie, deanie, and then they get to weenie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a big joke in the episode.
You have to say that if this was an actual school newspaper, this girl would be fired no matter what. New principal is Feeny. In itself, it's just bad writing. Yeah.
Also, I gotta mention that one of the rats gets out. She like freaks out. Like, it's so weird. Like, this is such a weird thing to reveal. But like, did you have a crush on your school newspaper editor? Also, if they were a girl.
I don't remember having a school newspaper.
Oh, I definitely had a crush on my school newspaper editor. So. I'm just stating that.
Something about the power.
I don't know. I mean, I've always liked the word. It's that weird thing of like how I've always been drawn to politics and like words. So,
right.
Granted, politics not so much recently because hoy vey, but that's a whole different situation altogether. Mm-hmm. They run out. We get our first ever appearance of Janitor Bud.
Yeah, 1 of 4 appearances, although his appearances are iconic.
Yes. He's only in 4 episodes?
Wow. I looked it up. He's only in 4 episodes. I'm like, I remember this guy in a lot more things.
He's like the other character in this episode that is in more than 1 episode, but not many more episodes.
Yeah. The thing about this episode is that there's such a bouncy back and forth dynamic with all the characters, with all the dialogue, that works so well. Even with the minor characters, it's a drop-in, but it works so well. It feels like it really does feel like it was written as a stage play based on how the writing is and how it bounces back and how things smooth on top of each other. You know? And how the pieces kind of come together. Like,
you're right, yeah.
Like when they go into Scarlet Letter, I'm like, where is this relevant to the rest of the story? Wouldn't like talking about like media or something be more relevant? And then they bring it around, and it's like, okay, this episode was crafted.
Which we'll get to Scarlet Letter later because I have very strong thoughts on the whole situation. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So Corey leaves, and he's like, "Don't put that word in the newspaper." And Shawn's like, "No, I won't." And he's like, "Yeah,
no, I won't. Maybe I will."
Yeah. So the next morning, we see everyone's from the school newspaper, and Weeny is all over the school newspaper. And we get our first appearance of Harley, Joey, and Frankie in like 2 episodes because they're in the first episode of the season. And Harley's like reading, he's like, "New principal's Feeny. New principal's Weeny. I find this funny. Don't you guys find this funny?" And like Joey's like, yeah, I find it funny. I was like laughing on the inside. I was reading to find it funny too. And like Frankie's like, "Yeah, I found it funny too."
I remember seeing these episodes for the first time. Like, I recognized the guy who plays Joey, Blake Sopper, immediately. Because he was on, I don't know if you talked about this in previous episodes, he was on a show on Nickelodeon called Salute Your Shorts.
Right, he was. And also he was in Riley Kiley, the band.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like I watch him in Salute Your Shorts, and he's like this kickback, kind of cool guy. Then it's like somebody gave him like an ounce of cocaine and said, "Now do this show." Okay, sure, yeah, I got this. It's gonna be good. Yeah, let's do this.
I love how, like, in your mind, like, Boy Meets World set is like exactly like Saved by the Bell or something like that, like where it's like troubled, or like Full House, like where it's definitely troubled in a weird way. Like,
you don't know what happened. You don't know what happened with Blake Sopper between Salute Your Shorts and Boy Meets World,
right? But you're implying that I think Boy Meets World has like one of the more like kosher sets, like of like early '90s, late '80s sitcoms, you know. Like, it's definitely not Saved by the Bell, where you're like, oh my god.
No. The thing is that Saved by the Bell is almost structured more like a fantasy.
Yes. Well, I meant like actually how like people were treated on that show.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like the actual behind the scenes workings of the show. But that's a whole different situation.
Anyway.
But yeah. So so while this whole thing with Harley, Joey, and Frankie is happening, you see like Shawn looking over, like being like, oh my god, I can fit in. And like Harley is like says the Prince can stand where Joey stands while Shawn's eavesdropping. And then like it's really funny though, because Joey's like, where can I stand? And Harley doesn't really give an answer. And like you realize Joey would like lose his spot in the gang to whoever this person is. And Shawn comes over and is like, hey, you saw the newspaper. And then like Harley's like, you've been eavesdropping. No. Wow, I do such a bad Harley impersonation, don't I? And then like Harley like threatens to cut off Shawn's ears, and Joey's like, yeah, he's got like a necklace of ears. Like,
I think the perfect Harley Kiner is a combination between De Niro and James Dean.
Can you do it? I know you're good at impersonations.
Let's see. I could be laughing. I'm laughing. I find this hilarious.
It's really funny because I get more Ethan Suplee out of you than that than Harley.
That's all of Harley Kiner right there.
That's yeah. And Shawn wants like recognition for the prank, and like he's like, oh man, no one cares. And then like these girls up are like, oh my god, I would date the guy that like made this prank of Weeny. And Shawn just like is like, ugh. Then we get our first appearance of Turner in the episode, and he's teaching the Scarlet Letter, which you know that rings true for the theme of the episode.
I've never actually read the book, so like I
know the story. Like I know the story, but
I've seen Easy A. Does that count for anything?
Sure, but okay. I will say this. I was gonna bring this up later, but in what world do kids in 7th grade learn the Scarlet Letter? Like in my high school, I think people were reading in 11th grade in class. I'm not sure.
I think it literally varies from school to school. Remember, they were doing Shakespeare in 6th grade in this particular school. That's true. Okay. Some schools hit it earlier than others. Like I didn't hit Romeo and Juliet till 9th grade. Some schools they don't hit it till 11th. Other schools they hit it in middle school or even toward the end of 5th grade. It literally depends on the district. I think this is kind of telling you. I'm just gonna say it straight out. This is kind of telling you how white the district is because of how advanced they allow. Because this happens. The whiter the district, the more advanced their ELA curriculum in earlier grades.
That's a sad truth. I understand that.
Yeah. So. It kind of tells you that, yes, they're right outside of Philadelphia, but not that part of Philadelphia.
But still, every time that like I know of anyone that ever read Scarlet Letter, it was always 11th or 12th grade, or like for fun after high school.
Right.
Because it's one of those books, like, I feel like in 7th grade, and I was like in a suburban school, granted, it was a melting pot school in Miami. And like in 7th grade, we were reading... Actually, I remember we were reading in 7th grade, but I know we weren't reading that. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
Listen. What was it? We read Turn of the Screw. I really wish we had read Scarlet Letter.
Yeah. So then, like, Feeny walks in, and he's like trying to find the perpetrator, And like it cuts like back and forth between Shawn and Corey and Feeney being like, okay, so who is the perpetrator? Who did this? Who wrote Feeney? Who wrote Weeny? And like Shawn's like, and it's really obvious that Shawn. I feel like there's never a doubt in anyone's mind that it was Shawn that wrote Weeny.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this is like when everyone realizes it's definitely Shawn.
Like, I mean, just to jump a little bit. I mean, we'll get to it. We're working our way through the episode right now.
Yeah.
Right now, it's anybody. Could be anybody.
Could be anyone. Yeah. And then I do love this joke that Feeny makes on his way out. He's like, very well. I will now return you to a lecture on the letter A. Because there's a giant A on the blackboard. It's just really funny to me. Like, since Feeny and Turner are such an adversarial relationship at this point in the show.
Yeah.
Where Feeny thinks that Turner like baby as a kid, so the fact that there's a giant A on this blackboard is very, very funny to me.
This is one of those great examples of them setting up a joke early and then paying it off way later in the scene. Like, This is something that they do a lot more often, and it's just a great sign of great writing, great craftsmanship in making an episode where, like, it's so innocuous, and then later on, payoff.
Right, because like the A gets drawn on like 2 minutes before this, like in like the beginning.
It's right at the top of that scene.
Yeah, literally the first thing Turner does is we're gonna start learning about this letter. He writes the A on the blackboard, and then he starts talking, and then like Feeny comes in, has his little bit, and then and you forget about the giant A behind them, and it's just funny. It's just good. There's a lot of really good, smart, like simple jokes in this episode.
Oh yeah, it's so well done.
Yeah. So then we go to the house, and Eric's sad because Molly broke up with him.
Right.
And Alan's telling him about how true love will always be around, and you'll know when they're there with their embrace. Amy comes out of nowhere, smacks Alan on the back of the head. And this was what I thought was going to be your favorite joke of the whole series. Because I heard you reference what's coming up next.
Okay.
But I don't think it's your favorite joke in the whole series. I think the later version of it is your favorite joke in the whole series. Morgan starts screaming, Weeny! Weeny! It says Weeny! On like the newspaper.
That is my favorite joke of the entire series.
Okay, I thought
she goes, it's Weeny! It says Weeny! Beat. I can read!
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's just rhythmically, it's so perfect. What later joke were you referencing?
We'll get there because I got notes about it. But it's towards the end of the episode.
Okay, for some reason
it's similar. We're on the same page. But
okay, but like Morgan always seems to these early Morgan, the Lily Nixie years, Morgan has some of the best bits.
Yes,
honestly. And this is like my favorite of all time because it's so out of nowhere, but it works so perfectly.
And we are like, it's so weird because at this point in the series, Lily Nixie is like literally there for 5 lines an episode. Yeah. And like, they're like, okay, we're just gonna have one really good bit for her, and that's it. Like, because I feel like in season 1, she's like the star in a couple episodes. Season 2, they start like not using her much, and she's gone for a whole year and becomes a whole different person.
Yeah, and then when you switch to Lindsay Ridgway, it's like she's in there for like a minute.
Yeah.
There are no Morgan episodes.
Right.
Not even here, there are barely any Morgan episodes.
We have Morgan beats, but like not like this is a great Morgan beat. Like I'm not denying that.
I don't think Morgan gets beats. I think Morgan for the entirety of the series gets buttons. Like, we got to close out the scene. How do we end the scene on a funny note? Oh, we'll give Morgan a line.
That's fair.
It works. Hardest thing in writing in comedy is writing buttons in a scene. And like, you throw Morgan in there with either a snarky whatever or a out of nowhere but it makes sense thing, it works. And having a little girl say it makes it work even better. This is why Full House was on the air for so long.
Right. Especially when they had 2 very, very good snarky little girls, and one of them very, very young and adorable.
We can go on jokes on that one, but let's get back to the episode.
It's all good. But no, I want to talk about because I will say this is a beat because it's not the butt of the episode at all. And like it is a solid minute of the episode of her being like, Weeny, Weeny, it says Weeny. I can read, like all that stuff. Is like it's real, like throughout the dialogue. Like there's dialogue happening at this point. You know?
Yeah, the one of the things that make this episode work, and it's partially the writing, partially the editing, partially the performance, is how there is a rhythmic back and forth. Like, I'm a West Wing devotee. It's my favorite show of all time. And one thing that the actors always say is how musical and rhythmic the script is. Dule Hill would say how it's like tap dancing, where it's like ta 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 ta. And this episode has all those elements. They know when to pause. They know how to go back and forth. They're feeding off of each other's rhythm. And with Morgan, it was Weeny. It was Weeny. Pause, pause, pause. I can read. Button. It really is done as a musical phrase.
You're right. Like you really are. Like it's absurd. Like I'm starting to realize that like whenever they needed a really great episode of Boy Meets World, Jeff Sherman wrote him. Like I feel like Jeff Sherman was like their he was what?
He was an EP on the show.
Yeah, like he like knew the show better than most people. Like how many episodes did he write? He only wrote 4. Like he wrote 12 episodes.
12 episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, just one season.
Sorry, 14 episodes.
Okay. My count was
like he also wrote the episode that is directly related to this one, The Fugitive.
Right.
So yeah, like he writes like the good big, he like writes a lot of big episodes, and
there's that excellent scene in the scene that we're on right now where it's like, it's not Shawn. He says it's not Shawn. Of course it's Shawn. No, it's not Shawn. See, he says it's not Shawn. Of course it's Shawn.
Yeah.
It's this wonderful Abbott and Costello-esque back and forth.
And we got like 3 or 4 of those in this episode too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's like 3 pairs of people that have that, like Amy and Alan, Jason and Eric, and Corey and Shawn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because comedy works in 3s, as we all know, and if you got one great thing, you might as well do it 3 times. So, and also like we didn't really touch on it much, but like there's such a great setup to like what happens next with Eric in this episode with that letter, because he gets his like beautiful handwritten like breakup letter saying that he's like a horrible guy. That is, I wrote down that he's a bag of misery, but we'll get there in a moment. But like, yeah, so like Eric realizes while this whole scene is happening that Shawn is the reason why it says Weeny in the newspaper. And then here we go. So Eric tells Jason to like never let him date again, and then immediately bumps into a Southern Belle. She has like 12 different names, so we're just gonna call her Desiree, who's in the series for 2 episodes and is one of my favorite cliche characters in television history.
Oh, come on. What about Jennifer Love Pfefferman?
I actually don't love the character Jennifer Love Pfefferman, but I love the real person of Jennifer Love Hewitt. But I think Desiree is such a fun, miserable human, like princess character.
Yeah.
Because like, oh my God, this thing that she does, like when she's like, walking around, like talking like this. And
it's straight out the what's her name from Princess and the Frog.
Oh God, I
forget the name of the character, but yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about though. But it's that thing of like the fact that this actress is very, very attractive, very cute, and that like she's dressed like a cute little like Southern Belle, but like in 1993. Like she's basically like a 17-year-old Jennifer Aniston, but with brown hair. I don't know. I love this character. I think it's a really fun character that like we appropriately dunk, that like we can dunk on. And while Eric is falling in love with him, with her, Jason keeps saying bag of misery. You're a bag of misery. You're misery in a bag, like all that stuff.
I think this is one of those clever director things where like they played on the stereotype of a Southern Belle, where it's like, oh, Southern, so they must be dumb, but actually they're brilliantly manipulative.
And you think she is dumb until later in the episode too.
Yeah, she's brilliantly manipulative of this idiot, and because of 90s masculine stereotype, he's like, oh, she's Southern and she's a senior, she'll listen to me. Yeah, no, it plays on that whole archetype of the dumb Southern Belle girl, and really she's manipulating the dumb guy who thinks she's the dumb Southern Belle girl.
Yeah. And the actress is incredible in the role too. I had her name up there a moment ago. Where was it? Sydney Bennett. She was like, she did a lot of things like in the 90s sitcom world. Like she was always like, and she was also like in the TV show Psych a couple times. She's one of those people that like you've seen like in a million shows, but this was like one of her earliest appearance. This was like her earliest appearance for our generation, honestly. Because she was in Matlock also the same year.
The thing is that, you know, Boy Meets World in the 90s was like, if you have a person playing a bit part really well in the later 90s, early 2000s, they were probably on Boy Meets World at one point.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Yeah. That's just the way that is. Let me think. So then we get one of my favorite weird things that I think was brought up by Andrew in his episode, or Karishma in hers. But so we get to the first time that door changes from bathroom to the principal's office.
Yep, because they can only afford so much set.
And you find out
it's easier to replace just the door than the entire wall.
Also, the locker has changed too, because I remember that it's a full locker for Corey at first, and now it's a half locker.
Right, because they're gonna have more bits with 2 layers as opposed to 1.
Of course, but like it's like, oh, we just need a full size locker so we can hide in there versus not. But so in the morning before school, Shawn changed Feeney's door to say Weeny. He painted the door; it's still a little bit wet. Corey tries to fix that little wet spot
and makes it worse.
Yeah. And then out of nowhere, your favorite character, Janitor Bud, comes in and says Corey did everything because he saw Corey run out with his good eye. And
here's what I don't get. Like, school has clearly been open for a minute. The paint is still wet.
Yeah.
Clearly someone saw Shawn do this.
Oh boy, Meets World so much.
Can't just be Janitor Bud with the one eye.
Like, it's so great. Like, Janitor Bud is just so much fun in the scene. He's like, hit it, and like,
out of the way, you puke bags.
I kind of want to like, Janitor Bud is like such a great cliche name for a janitor, and the actor that plays him is so fucking brilliant. Like, like it's Bob Larkin. You gotta love that guy. I mean, don't know if he did much else that we know of.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter.
There's also that moment that like the moment of, and this is also probably William Daniels' amazing acting, where William Daniels just looks at him and like, I'm not the old crazy one here. All right.
Because he's still getting his feet wet at school. And like,
I'm supposed to be the oldest one here and you're older and crazier. That's interesting.
So Feeny gives Corey until the end of the day tomorrow to say who is the person that wrote Weeny in the school paper. And, you know, he's a little concerned about what to do.
This is where I got a little thrown off, because I'm like, how does Feeny not automatically say it's Shawn, isn't it? That like threw me.
The third act of this episode I have a lot of issues with, like the resolution I'm not the happiest with. Right. But like, you're right. Like, I think they get to the lesson they want to, but they get there in a really weird roundabout way.
Yeah. After the second act, things just kind of get, okay, how do we wrap this up? Let's figure something out.
Even the third act is fine until like the last 3 minutes, I think.
Yeah, because like you literally, I don't know if we want to go jump there already, but like you literally have that scene with Mr. Turner, where Mr. Turner is saying you have this choice and this choice, and Corey goes,
I don't know.
So what's the point? I don't know. I was hoping you could tell me. And I feel like the writers were kind of like putting themselves into the positions like, we don't know how to end this. Okay, so neither does Mr. Turner.
And then the Feeny logic in the scene later doesn't make that much sense, but it makes enough sense. It doesn't matter. We'll get there in a moment. Because then like he goes home. Alan and Amy already know it's Shawn. They're just like saying it's Shawn and Shawn and Shawn. We know it's Shawn. Yeah. And Alan says a friend doesn't rat out a friend, which is a great line for him. We'll talk about some more stuff that I really, really love about Amy in that scene in the Betsy Randall, with Betsy Randall later, because This is one of those really good episodes where it's not much stuff.
Yeah, but it has that. But the scene has this amazing button of, Corey, you have to rat on your friend because we're poor.
Yep, one of my favorite lines in the episode. And then like I love how like they're all talking about like being special, about like who like want to be special, and then Eric walks in. He's like, "I'm being a senior. I'm special," and that's the end of the episode, like the end of the scene
of that particular arc. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not that arc because we have more Desiree coming up, but so Shawn wants to make a legend about the school. And this is when we get to the part where I thought was going to be your favorite joke in the whole history of the show. There's a correction in the newspaper that they misspelled Weeny, and that it's actually Weeny. Continue
on page 3, column 1. Weeny.
Yeah. That I thought was your favorite joke in the whole episode, like in the whole series.
It's almost rhythmic.
How would you rewrite?
Page 5. So it'll be Weeny. Continued on page 5. Weeny.
You're right, yeah.
I don't know. There's something about that extra beat of anticipation of how does this end button that just works.
I do love that the last Weeny is just on the separate page.
Just floating on its own nebulously in the middle of a page.
It's just at the top of the page, like at the top of the column. Or I don't know. I love that because like that's my humor. You know that like random ass dumbass humor like that. So yeah, like you Harley's laughing, says it has flair. Joey says he has his flair. And we find out that Joey and Frankie do the weenie. Continue page 3, column 1.
Yeah. I'm laughing.
So am I.
I'm laughing.
I
find this hilarious.
We don't get as much Joey as we get Frankie, which is probably a good thing because Joey is a whole different animal than Frankie in so many different ways. And
Blake Sopper's got that salute your shorts money, so he doesn't need the screen time.
I mean, Nickelodeon in the late 80s, early 90s had so much money for shows that ran, I think, 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So then we get our second appearance of Desiree. She's walking in, looking out cute like a Southern Belle, and Eric's holding all of her books and everything. And
I'm just looking at Desiree going, does she have a lower GI tract? Because I'm pretty sure that's just...
and like you quickly learn that she is a complete handful. Jason's also there too, because when Jason's around, he's always around. But when Jason's not around, he's not around ever.
It's youth television. Jason Morrison's around somewhere.
I mean, if he's not here, he's on Disney Channel, on Goof Troop,
or Nickelodeon. On Fairly Odd Parents. Literally, if it's children's television, he's there around somewhere.
Jason Morrison would be a really fun guest to get on the show eventually, wouldn't it?
I feel like Jason Morrison is the type I just want to have drinks with, and like throw darts with. I don't know. Is that weird?
It's, not necessarily weird, but I actually kind of agree with that though. Like, it's that weird thing of like how like he's one of those few people that his name is also his name of his character too, which I think is so great too.
Yeah, I think it was a thing of like, okay, we need an extra character. Okay, Jason Morrison's available. Okay, what are we gonna name the character? Jason. That's inspired, dude. That's what they pay us for. Call him Blake Soper, get the coke.
Like Desiree's having a little monologue. She's like, "Will you drive around for 40 minutes so the winter air warms up? Say yes, Puddin'." And like, oh no, she doesn't even kiss him on the mouth like ever in this. Like she's very cutely on the cheek. Like that's really very sweet, very puppy dog. And she's like, and then Jason has his line of, "I believe the woman wants pudding."
There's something about with the Desiree character. It's one of those rules in writing where the more specific it is, the more universal it is.
Yes.
Yeah. And like everything she's doing is so specific. Like it wasn't a kiss on the cheek, it was specifically a peck. She's
Yeah.
looking for particularly one word and she specifies 40 minutes to warm up the car. Like everything is so exact that it reads as funny and oh my god, what the hell.
Right. Like it's definitely like you realize this woman's a handful and she knows like she's using what she has to get what she wants. Desiree is in no way a good person, but she is a fun character in the series.
Yeah.
At least I don't think she's a good person, but
Well, yeah.
But
I feel like there's a way we could dig into deeper in this character. We could literally spend an hour on the examination of the character of Desiree,
who appears in 2 episodes back to back of Boy Meets World. You'll see her next week also.
Listen, there's an entire half-hour video essay on a Simpsons character who just randomly appears every once in a while. It says, no thanks.
Which character is that?
He doesn't even have a name. Guy who says no thanks or something like that. I'll look it up and I'll send it to you because it's a bizarrely specific video on a bizarrely specific character. And I feel like you could do a video essay on like all the very minor characters on Boy Meets World.
I mean, like Andrew was talking about Marion Simpleton for like 5 minutes on the season premiere episode, and he's got less than 5 lines in that episode, and he's never mentioned ever again. So, but yeah, so that whole bit with Desiree ends, and Corey appears, and Shawn's like, if I get in trouble again because of what happened last year with the mailbox, I'm going to go to military school, and then they go to class, and this is like when the episode falls apart for me.
Yeah.
Because Turner's like, okay, so like it's important to not rat out people, sort of. And then he has this like little scene with Corey where he's like, I don't know, you tell me. And it's like,
the writers aren't even trying. They're cutting a check. They're getting a check and being like, okay, we're done with the scene. Move on.
Like, this is like one of the many reasons I don't love Mr. Turner. Like, for me, Mr. Turner is fine when he's academically, like he's in the school. But whenever they take him out of the school in like season 3 and such, he's not that good of a character.
No, he's not. He's very like he's a very flaccid character, kind of designed to fit whatever narrative is in that week, you know?
And I think he's fine, like in season 2, like with him like butting heads with Feeny, I mean, alternate voice for Corey and stuff like that. I think that's fine. But like this episode, he's actually I don't hate his first appearance this episode. Like this scene just I feel like like they didn't understand rat out Shawn or protect your friend.
Right.
And then like we get to like 3:30 and Corey goes to to Feeny, and Corey doesn't want to be a rat. Oh no, wait, I actually want to talk about like Turner does make a really cool thing about saying like names stick with people. He's like, I can call you Booger, and you'd be like Booger for like the rest of your like high school career, and maybe be like Booger for the rest of your life, you know?
Right.
I don't know, I found that interesting.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is where it gets funky because it's like it's an attempt to get Corey to understand why Feeny is so ballistic. That's what it is, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it's trying to get that first impression with a label. That's what they're trying to get across. And it's almost like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And I'm like, we can go an extra half hour on this, but let's save some time and just say Turner doesn't know. Okay.
Yeah. And it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, because it's so weird because, like, they do have a good point, though, of, like, don't rat out your friends, but also, like, if Feeny didn't live next door to Corey, like, Corey would be suspended. That's really where it boils down to. So, like, Corey has this scene at Feeny, he's like, I don't want to rat him out. And he's like, but, like, and, like, we all, like, everyone knew it was Shawn at this point. And he's like, well, you don't want to rat out your friend. I respect that. You're not getting suspended. End of episode. Like Feeney's trying to be like the new boss. Like, it's like he's being so strict in the first 2 episodes of the season that like it doesn't jive with me that he's like, you're right. I will be less strict on you. I don't know. Like, because he's like, I'm trying to be new. I'm new to the school. And I'm trying to like make a good name for myself.
Right.
Yeah. So we get to our credit scene. We find out Corey's got detention for 5 days, and like you see that Shawn is hiding behind the bathroom Feeny office door, and Shawn accidentally bats himself out, which is pretty funny there. And his punishment is Feeny will watch him his whole high school career. And Feeny's like, "You're my new special friend." And then Shawn says to Corey after Feeny leaves, "Why did you rat me out?" Like,
yeah, it's a wonderful turnaround. It's this wonderful turnaround. But it's like, okay, so Feeny knew the entire time. Great. He was just testing Corey. This is how you decided to spend your time?
Yeah.
Okay. So just so I understand this, Mr. Feeny, so you're going to be made fun of for a good amount of time. You're going to be here because this is the first impression being made to the rest of the school, and you're upset about that. So instead of showing that you won't take being made fun of easily, instead of punishing the guy who made fun of you, you're going to teach a lesson to your neighbor's kid.
Yeah.
You're not making wise choices as an administrator, sir.
No.
First of many.
You're right. But like it's and that's the end of the episode proper. Anything else you want to talk about in the episode proper?
I don't know how you have the season 2 set up, so let's just move on.
Season 2, so like I have an idea for something. And I'm gonna run it by you. I was thinking of alternate lines for Joey and Frankie.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to do like a ball of speed in order to do that.
I mean, don't hurt your little heart.
I'm sorry. I'm still riding on the Blake Sopper and a Mountain of Coke line.
I hope he wasn't on Coke or ever is on Coke. I know he's a musician, so that's a little bit scarily close to begin with, but you know.
But you look at him in Salute Your Shorts, and you look at him in Boy Meets World, and all of a sudden he becomes twitchy. He becomes, it's all around. It's okay.
But it's also that weird cliche, like 1950s, like gangster, like mobster, like bullies, you know, like, hey, I'm gonna fuck you up, you know.
I really feel like it's almost like they were going for let's find it with Frankie and Joey. Let's find the Frankie and Joey moment.
Yeah. Okay. I fucking love the moment when, like, in the beginning, like, because Ethan Suplee is such a fucking genius as Frankie. When, like, Joey's like, where am I going to stand? And Frankie's like, I'll just stand right here. Like, he just takes a step back. It's just so funny, like, the simplicity of everything Suplee does, especially as early Frankie.
Yeah. A minute with Joey and Frankie.
And that was a minute with Joey and Frankie.
There you go.
So let's get to the Betsy Reynolds, greatest TV mom in the whole world.
A one, 2, 3, 4. Betsy Reynolds, the best TV mom. Yeah.
We don't get that much of her, but it's one of those episodes where what you get of her is so fucking strong. Like, I love her entrance this episode, like, because she hears Alan talking about, like, how when you find true love, you're gonna know it, you're gonna be embraced by it, then slap in the back of the head. Like, it's just, like, I love it. Like, you get so much playful Amy in that first scene, and then you get, like, Amy be like, no, you're not doing this right, you have to write out Shawn, do this. And then, like, I love, like, the little banter they have when we're talking about, like, they're talking about, like, going to college and how it's going to stay in its permanent record suspension. And, like, it's just her being like, no, like, we're poor and I don't want my kid to go to a bad school.
She is now and forever the grounding voice of reason.
And she always will be for the whole series, pretty much. Like, she's always the calmer voice of the two. Right? Yeah.
Usually, yes.
Because Alan's the hothead, but she gets the point across.
Yeah, she never has that I've lost my mind moment. Alan has quite a few. Eric, that's basically his character from season 4 on.
I mean, Eric loses his mind once he graduates high school.
He loses his mind the second he starts sitting on the couch in his bathrobe, coming up with when the crumb breaks out and the hot girl shout, there's a good-looking guy. I might be a fan. I might be.
I mean, he really loses his mind during when he, with his internship at the weather but that's a whole like how that goes. You know,
he lost his mind on MTV. That's all there is to it. Anyway,
but it's a thing of like Betsy Randall does these scenes so fucking well, where she has to be like, "No, Alan, what you're saying is wrong. I'm the smart one. You're the Xboxer. You've been hit in the head a lot."
Yeah, basically.
I mean, I'm not saying Alan's dumb. I'm just saying that like we know who the smarter parent is.
Yeah. You know she's on an episode of oh god, Adam Ruins Everything.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Betsy Randall. I think she's on it's either the climate change episode or the voting episode.
Oh, that's interesting.
It felt weird watching Betsy Randall, in that kind of position where she's being corrected instead of being the one doing the correcting. But it's still Betsy Randall. The heart is still there.
You gotta love her. You can't not love her.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's why she's the best TV all the time. So let's go to episode MVPs. This was a tough one because the writing is so fucking sharp in this episode.
And there's such an ensemble vibe to the whole thing. Like there's this dinging back and forth amongst all the characters, and like the scenes are short. It accomplishes what it does quickly. So like you don't dwell on a single character too long. It's focused on Corey because he's the boy in the title.
Yeah.
But like all the other characters and all the other plot lines going on, it kind of jumps around really well, well and balanced.
We even get a lot of Molly, who's in a scene and like has a line leader in the like first 3 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
Like there's no small characters in this episode really, except for like Morgan. Yeah. And Morgan even has like your favorite moment of all time, the whole series. So
I would give the MVP to the director of the episode, honestly. Because it's so tight, with the exception of that bit in the third act, and the scene and the rhythm between the actors is so well done. And it's repeated, like you said, that kind of bing, 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 bing button is done with a number of different characters, and it's still true to the characters. It works so well. I would give it to the director for making those things work so well with the characters in mind, with the actors in mind.
It's definitely one of those where I'm like, where there is a good point for that. Like, and like every character, like it's just what's so cool is like at this point there are 25 episodes into the series, and so a lot of these people have been on 25 episodes.
Right.
But there's also people like Harley, Joey, Frankie, Turner, Desiree. That are like Jason, who knock it out of the fucking park. I'm going to give my episode MVP actually to. I'm actually going to split this between two people. The devil and the angel on Eric's shoulder. Both Jason and Desiree. Like, I feel like I have to give it to Desiree because I know I feel like she's a lot bigger in this character than she is in the next episode. I haven't watched the next episode yet.
Right.
Which is her other episode. But like, it's so specific and so like perfect. Like the movements of the character are just so interesting. And like, we just get like we get peak Jason here, even though it's not probably peak Jason. You know what I mean? Like it's very much like Jason's not like, oh yeah, just hot girls. It's like, dude, I see what's wrong here. Like I love that form of Jason Marsden.
It's almost like I'm thinking of the character in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You know that guy who said the Herbert's father?
Yes. Yes.
Where it's like, all right, you stay here. I'm going. All right, so then we go, no.
And I was
exactly what I'm saying. Do exactly what that. No, wait, yes, yeah. That's Jason Marsden in this episode.
And like, we get that. Like, we don't get that much great Jason Marsden because I feel like he's a very good supporting role. He's like what they want Eli to be, and that's not anything against Eli in season 3. Yeah. But like it's very much like I'm here to help support. I'm here to help. I'm here to like spread the goodness.
Here to help. Let me help you. Why don't you let me help you?
Yes, she's very hot, but she's also using you.
Like bag of misery. Bag of misery.
Oh my God.
What you told me to tell you. Help me, help you. Help me, help. No? Right. Okay. Wow.
And like even like the entrance of her is just, we didn't talk about that much, but like the entrance of Desiree is just so perfect. He's like, don't let me stay to anyone else my whole junior year. Well, oh, like, yeah.
My shoes, my pants, my skirt, my shirt. Mama.
Yeah.
Rhythm.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. I love this episode until the last 3 minutes. So much. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And it's one of those we're now like at the point where I remember every episode so clearly because I've seen every episode like 100 times at this point.
Right.
Like for season 1, I feel like I've seen every episode like 10 times or less. For season 2 onward, it's like 30 times or more. Because I'm that guy that watches Boy Meets World every day.
Here's the thing, though. I'll tell you this: my other favorite joke of the entire series, it would take a long time to get to. So,
I mean, hopefully we have 130 more episodes. So, what season is it? Season?
When did they get married?
That's season 5. No, 6. No, 7.
It's in there.
Well, we'll get there eventually, John.
That's like.
Anything you want to plug? Anything you're working on interesting right now, or?
Nope. I'm just trying to survive, But honestly, this episode, I'm laughing. It's funny. I'm dying inside.
Me too, Johnny. Me too.
Because I'm laughing. I want to blow my nose on that kid.
Hey, kid, he wants to blow his nose on you. Wolf. Oh, God. I get so happy with Joey and Frankie so much. Awesome. Yeah. So thank you, John. My plugs quickly. If you want to tweet me at MarkLevy85. If you want to email the show, markremeetsworld@gmail.com. There might be some schedule changes on Mark Talk because I might be having a job soon. I'm not sure. We'll find out before this episode airs, but that will be a thing. But yeah, John, thank you so much for doing this.
Always fun.
And I know I'll see you on the show in a few weeks because we're going to have our first 2 guest episode.
Yes, where I get to talk about my favorite scene of the entire series.
And I can already hear Colleen be like, yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.